Only in Kentucky can a single county claim the tallest waterfall in the state, the first commercial oil well in North America, and the unique distinction of being the only county in the Commonwealth completely devoid of any incorporated cities. Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm learning a little bit more about Kentucky, one county at a time, all 120 of them. And today, I'm learning about McCreary County. Situated entirely within the Cumberland Plateau along the southern border of Kentucky, McCreary County sits on top of the highly resilient layer of sandstone and shale, and beneath that hard caprock lies softer, easily eroded limestone. For millions of years, the drainage patterns of the region's waterways, most notably the Big South Fork of the Cumberland River, have relentlessly sliced through the sandstone, creating narrow, deep gorges bordered by sheer vertical cliffs. This erosion, combined with the freeze and thaw cycles of Appalachian winters, is responsible for the region's most famous natural phenomena: its towering waterfalls and its extraordinary concentration of natural sandstone arches. Cumberland Falls, widely known as the Niagara of the South, spans the McCreary and Whitley County border. The massive block waterfall is one of the only places in the Western Hemisphere to regularly produce a moonbow, which is a lunar rainbow, during a full moon. Further into the forest lies Yahoo Falls, which cascades 113 feet over a massive sandstone rock house, making it the tallest plunge waterfall in Kentucky. In 1818, an entrepreneur named Marcus Hewling partnered with a local driller named Andrew Zimmerman to sink a well on the South Fork of the Cumberland River on behalf of landowner Martin Beatty. They were aggressively searching for brine to boil down into salt. Using a primitive spring pole rig, the drillers struck a highly pressurized pocket. But instead of salt water, the well violently blew out commercial quantities of crude oil. It flowed at a sustained rate of roughly 100 barrels per day. This 1818 blowout is widely recognized as the first commercial oil well drilled in North America, predating the famous Drake well in Pennsylvania by over 4 decades. It was initially viewed as a catastrophic nuisance that ruined the pursuit of lucrative salt, but the crude oil was eventually salvaged, barreled, and sold as a medical liniment for joint pain. The Beatty well established a definitive precedent for natural resource extraction in the region. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, the geographic isolation of the Cumberland Plateau cultivated an exceedingly violent socio-political environment. The region's agrarian population was intensely loyal to the Union. However, because the rugged terrain prevented large-scale permanent occupation by regular armies, the area quickly devolved into a deadly borderland defined by a vicious, highly localized guerrilla warfare. The most notable military engagement within the modern borders of the county was the Battle of No Business, fought on May 3, 1863. A local Union home guard successfully ambushed a band of Confederate guerrillas who had raided the isolated No Business Creek settlement. The dead were buried in a mass grave beneath a rock wall near the river, an enduring local monument to the intimate brutality of the war. The modern socio-economic structure of McCreary County was completely forged at the dawn of the 20th century. By the 1890s, Justice Stearns, an immensely wealthy timber baron from Michigan, recognized that the virgin pine forests of the upper Midwest were facing rapid depletion. Seeking new reserves, he targeted the untouched tracts of the Cumberland Plateau. So in 1902, Stearns formed a massive corporate monopoly, eventually expanding his holdings into a staggering 200-square-mile empire known as the Big Survey. To extract both the surface timber and the subterranean coal, Stearns built a vertically integrated corporate fiefdom. The town of Stearns was built as the headquarters. Unlike organic municipal development, Stearns was a centrally planned company town where the corporation owned absolutely everything: the land, the housing, the utilities, the railway, and the company store. Employees were frequently paid in scrip, a form of corporate currency redeemable exclusively at company-owned outlets, ensuring that wages flowed directly back to the corporate ledger. The company managed 18 distinct, highly isolated coal and lumber camps. To access the deep gorges, they constructed the Kentucky and Tennessee Railroad, a monumental feat of engineering through steep terrain. Miners lived in grueling, claustrophobic conditions. Blue Heron, also known as Mine 18, perfectly encapsulates this era. Opened in 1937, it was an insular community accessible primarily by rail. When the underground coal seams finally ceased to be profitable, the camp was unceremoniously abandoned in 1962, vividly illustrating that these settlements existed only as long as the earth yielded capital. The rapid influx of northern capital and thousands of laborers orchestrated by the Stearns monopoly necessitated a total realignment of local political boundaries. So on March 12, 1912, the Kentucky State Legislature officially carved out sections of Wayne, Pulaski, and Whitley counties to create McCreary County. It was the 120th and final county formed in the Commonwealth. We haven't had one since. Despite the region's fiercely historical loyalty to the Union Army and its legacy of anti-Confederate guerrilla warfare, the legislature named the new county after James Bennett McCreary, a former Confederate cavalry officer and a two-term governor of Kentucky. The Stearns Company's total monopolistic ownership of the landscape profoundly stunted the development of traditional civic infrastructure. Because the corporation owned the land outright, independent towns could not organically incorporate or raise their own municipal tax bases. As a direct result, McCreary County remains the only county to this day in Kentucky without a single incorporated city. Consequently, the county government acts as the sole local governmental authority operating out of Whitley City. The extreme geographic isolation of the county, coupled with its volatile history, created a fertile landscape of myth-making. One of the most persistent legends is the alleged massacre at Yahoo Falls, where a group of Cherokee women and children, led by a figure known as Princess Cornblossom, were supposedly ambushed and murdered in 1810. Despite physical state historical markers and persistent local belief, historical and archaeological evidence for this massacre is entirely non-existent. Even the name Yahoo Falls stems from a fascinating confluence of frontier tall tales and classical literature. Daniel Boone supposedly shot a 10-foot tall, hairy bipedal giant near the falls. Drawing from a copy of Gulliver's Travels he carried, Boone allegedly referred to the creature as a Yahoo. This early literary homage serves as a foundational origin point for modern cryptid lore in North America. And while folklore dominates the distant past, the verifiable history of McCreary County is marked by extraordinary individual heroism. Private Wilburn K. Ross, born in the small community of Strunk, was deployed to the Western Front during World War II. In October 1944, Ross's company was decimated by a German attack. Risking certain death, Ross advanced his light machine gun and single-handedly broke 8 successive German assaults over 5 hours, remaining at his post for 36 hours. He was awarded the Medal of Honor, surviving the war and living to the age of 94. The county has also produced athletic excellence. In 1976, Tim Stevens of McCreary County High School became one of the most decorated basketball players in 12th Region's history. He led the entire state of Kentucky in scoring, averaging 35.6 points per game, and was runner-up for Mr. Basketball. By the mid-20th century, the massive coal and timber reserves of the Big Survey began to exhaust themselves. Following the labor strikes in the 1970s, the last active mining operations permanently ceased by 1987, bringing a painful end to the county's century-long era of heavy coal extraction. However, as industrial capitalism retreated, federal conservatism aggressively advanced. Massive tracts of the former Stearns holding were transferred to the Daniel Boone National Forest in the Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area, permanently protecting the fragile gorge ecosystems from further strip mining. Today, these combined federal lands cover the vast majority of the county. Faced with the permanent collapse of the extraction industries, McCreary County has successfully pivoted towards ecotourism, heritage preservation, and light manufacturing. In a stroke of historical irony, the very infrastructure built to haul coal out of the gorge is now utilized exclusively to ferry tourists into it. The Big South Fork Scenic Railway transports thousands of visitors along the historic K&T Railroad route down to the reconstructed Blue Heron mining camp. At Blue Heron, the National Park Service has engineered a unique outdoor museum, erecting skeletal steel ghost structures on the exact footprints of the original company buildings. Visitors can listen to immersive oral histories of the original miners, preserving the harsh realities of the past. The original 1902 Stearns corporate office building now serves as the McCreary County Museum, preserving the artifacts of the timber and coal era. The county also celebrates its heritage through cultural festivals, including the Blazin' Bluegrass Festival, the Appalachian Art and Music Festival, and the Blue Heron Ghost Mine event. So, that's McCreary County. What'd I get wrong this time?